Peter O'Toole, born Peter Seamus O'Toole on August 2, 1932, liked to keep people guessing. He sometimes claimed he'd first drawn breath in Connemara, County Galway, Ireland, and at other times in Leeds, Yorkshire, England. That playful mystery fit the larger-than-life legend he later became. The son of Constance Jane Elliott and Patrick Joseph O'Toole, a bookmaker and footballer, he grew up amid big personalities, quick wit, and a deep love of stories. That blend, Irish humor, English grit, and a natural theatrical flair, set the course for his art. O'Toole did not march straight into acting. After serving as a radio man in the Royal Navy, he toyed with other careers before his devotion to language, performance, and literature pulled him toward the stage. He won a place at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, in London, studying from 1952 to 1954 alongside future greats Albert Finney and Alan Bates, actors who, like O'Toole, would help reinvent British screen acting for a new era. At RADA, he worked obsessively. Shakespeare, classic repertory, modern experiments, the lot. Even then he stood out, tall, blue-eyed, and commanding, with a voice that seemed to hold an audience in the palm of his hand. Early seasons at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre confirmed what people sensed immediately. Here was an actor of fierce focus and enormous range. He slipped from tragic princes to modern, psychologically knotted characters with ease, and by the 1950s he was regarded as one of the most promising young talents in Britain. The classical foundation he laid there remained a signature of his work, even as he moved into film. He wasn't content to play a part, he engineered it, demanding emotional truth every time. The moment that changed everything arrived in 1962, when David Lean cast him as T.E. Lawrence in Lawrence of Arabia. Overnight, O'Toole became an international star. His Lawrence, magnetic, arrogant, vulnerable, brilliant, and tormented, did more than define a career. It became one of cinema's benchmark performances. The film is a colossus, but O'Toole's spectral presence, those piercing blue eyes against the desert, helped elevate it to legend. The role earned him his first Academy Award nomination. He didn't win, but his place among the finest actors of his generation was secure. In the decades that followed, he built a career that prized daring. He collected a remarkable 8 Academy Award nominations without winning a competitive Oscar, one of the most nominated actors never to take the statue home. Films such as Beckett, 1964, The Lion in Winter, 1968, Goodbye, Mr. Chips, 1969, and The Ruling Class, 1972, showcased his elasticity, kings and eccentrics, teachers and madmen, all rendered with intelligence, bite and intensity. Later, My Favorite Year, 1982, let him transform self-parody into something sublime, an alcohol-soaked matinee idol, played with hilarity and ache in equal measure. Off-screen, O'Toole was as vivid as any character he portrayed, famous for the rapier wit, the endless conversation, and a hearty appetite for revelry. He was often linked with that era's hard-drinking fraternity, Richard Burton, Richard Harris, Oliver Reed. The Knights of Excess became legend. Yet the work never slipped. I will not be a common man. I will stir the smooth sands of monotony, he once said, a neat credo for the way he lived and performed. Health problems came later, including major surgery, but he refused to let them end the story. On stage in Shakespeare revivals or on screen in films like Venus, 2006, which earned him a final Academy Award nomination, he kept shining. The body might have tired. The eyes never did. They still flashed with the mischief of a man who had lived fully, intensely and fearlessly. In 2003, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences awarded him an honorary Oscar, true to form. He considered turning it down. He still wanted to win one the old-fashioned way, but accepted with charm and a wink. It felt right, a salute to an artist who gave generations of actors a higher bar to clear. Marriage, family, and the personal crosswinds in 1959. At 27, and before the world truly knew his name, Peter O'Toole married the Welsh actress Sian Phillips. She would become a celebrated figure on stage, film, and television in her own right. The pairing fascinated the press, a handsome, blazing bright young actor and a formidable, razor-sharp performer with immense presence. Phillips built a distinguished career across classical and modern roles. Even as life beside O'Toole meant living in the jet stream of fame, they had 2 daughters, Kate and Patricia, born during the white-hot 1960s. Fatherhood was a joy, but the pull of productions across continents kept him away for long stretches. The marriage carried strain. O'Toole's heavy drinking, mercurial moods, and restless energy made life thrilling and at times difficult. Phillips later wrote candidly about those years, the pressures of rising stardom, the unpredictability, the costs borne at home. For 20 years they stayed together, raising their daughters while navigating the storm. By 1979, the marriage ended. It closed a chapter defined by triumph and turbulence in equal measure. After the divorce, O'Toole lived as passionately as ever. He began a relationship with model Karen Brown, and together they had a son, Lorcan, born in 1983, when O'Toole was already in his 50s. Lorcan's arrival lit the later years, new purpose, renewed tenderness. He grew up under a legendary shadow, but found his own way into acting for film and television. He never tried to duplicate his father's career. He inherited the love of storytelling and made it his own. For decades, whenever people asked about his colleagues on Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, O'Toole kept the focus on the film's artistry, not personalities. Later, with time and perspective, he spoke more openly, still generous, but frank, and with that dry, wry humor. "It was an extraordinary cast," he said. "With extraordinary people, you get the whole spectrum. Brilliance, vanity, generosity, and the occasional bloody nightmare." He often began with Alec Guinness, the established lion of British acting who played Prince Faisal. Alec was a master technician, voice, movement, everything measured, precise. "You watched and learned," O'Toole said. Guinness's meticulousness sometimes rubbed against O'Toole's freer, more improvisational energy, but the friction refined him. He called Guinness's presence a gift to the production. Anthony Quinn, who portrayed Auda Abutayi, filled any space he entered. Tony was larger than life on and off the screen, O'Toole laughed. He moved like a conquering general. He'd thunder into a room and you'd swear the walls shook. He admired Quinn's ability to dominate a scene through sheer will, even if the intensity could be overwhelming. When Tony was in full flight, even the camels looked nervous. With Omar Sharif, Sheriff Ali, O'Toole found a friend for life. The shoot across Jordan and Morocco was grueling. Their camaraderie was a lifeline. "Omar saved my sanity out there," O'Toole recalled. "We were young in a mad, endless desert. He had charm and wit. You could be boiling under that sun, and he'd make you laugh. There were bottles of whiskey, long talks, and yes, a few questionable adventures. Their bond," he said, mattered as much behind the camera as it did to the chemistry audiences saw on screen. Jack Hawkins, who played General Allenby, embodied the English officer on screen and off. "He had the bearing, the gravitas, the command," O'Toole said. "But what I loved most was his wicked humor. He could puncture any pretension with a single line." Hawkins became a quiet mentor, advising him about craft and about surviving sudden fame. Not all memories were warm. We were baking in the desert, making a film many thought couldn't work, with a director demanding the impossible. Tempers flared, friendships frayed. Some days it felt like the whole enterprise might collapse. Yet those tensions, he insisted, gave the movie an edge you can feel even now, of David Lean. O'Toole was candid and respectful. Lean was brilliant and merciless. He pushed you to the edge, sometimes too far. Then you saw the rushes and understood. He was painting on the largest canvas, and he needed performances to match. I owe him my career, though I may have cursed his name more than once. His final word on that company was gratitude. "You don't make a masterpiece like Lawrence on your own. You need giants around you, and I had them: Alec, Tony, Omar, Jack, and the rest. Whatever our differences, the film endures. In the end, that's the truth that matters." Those reflections, affectionate, unvarnished, show how Lawrence of Arabia was not just a role for O'Toole. It was the crucible that forged his identity and bound him to an ensemble whose combined gifts created one of cinema's great epics. After more than 5 decades of work, O'Toole announced in July 2012 that he was retiring from acting. A recurrence of stomach cancer, the illness for which he'd undergone major surgery in 1976, forced him to reassess his strength and priorities. In a public statement, he expressed gratitude and sadness in equal measure. The urge to perform still burned, but the body demanded mercy. Fans and colleagues understood this was not retreat, but wisdom from a man who had poured everything into his craft and now chose to guard what time remained. A little over a year later, on the 14th of December 2013, Peter O'Toole died at Wellington Hospital in St. John's Wood in northwest London. He was 81. The news traveled fast and far. Actors, directors, critics, and countless admirers saluted a career that seemed etched into the art itself. Given the hard living, the battles with alcohol, and the earlier illnesses, reaching 81 felt, some said, like a small miracle. His passing closed a life as dramatic and compelling as any character he ever played.